Now, Bill Shorten has announced more funding for childcare today, but in doing so, he's seen himself accused of sexism. Let's face it, he said during his announcement, men in Australia rely on women in Australia to do the childcare and to organise the childcare. In fact, the speech seemed to generally pitch childcare as a woman's issue. But is Shorten just being realistic about the situations in most households rather than the prehistoric dinosaur that he's been labelled as by the Liberals? Prue Goward.
Well, I think he's probably realistic in the sense that women probably focus on it more and more concerned about the cost of it because they see that unfortunately, as a trade-off against their capacity to work. I mean, it's not true that men aren't involved in childcare. They pick them up, dads are a different kettle of fish to the generation before them. I do think he's dog whistling, though. I do think the number of times in that speech that he referred to mums, women, he's trying to capture the women's vote.
But that's fair enough. If you work out that childcare is a real problem for female voters and you can provide some solution, then that's...
But the dog whistling is in the sense that, as I've just said, and I think we'd all agree, childcare is everybody's concern. It's about children, it's about education opportunities, it's about early intervention, it's about parenting, men and women, but the insistence on the vocab, the women in the vocab, says to me he's actually dog whistling the women's vote as well.
David Leyonhjelm, Fiona Scott for the Liberals said that he was a prehistoric dinosaur in the way he talked. I think someone else even accused him of being like Tony Abbott. Ooh, is that fair?
What a sin. There's a lot more than sexism that I complain about in relation to the childcare policy. I think that women who don't have children have a legitimate grievance about how much money is being handed over to women who do have children and fathers too, for that matter. Probably my biggest complaint about the whole childcare issue is that it's very poorly or hardly at all means tested. That you can have an income of $300,000 a year and still have childcare subsidised at, I think it's currently $7,500 a year, and it's going up to $10,000.
It doesn't cut out. I thought it cut out at 130 or something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Well, that might be the Liberals' policy. There's an unmeans tested element to it. There is an unmeans tested element. So there's two components to it. And so I'm very grumpy about that, if you like. I think we have a huge problem with middle class welfare. Lots and lots of money going to people who are not poor.
Yes, but David, this is about engaging women in the workforce. This is a productivity and an economic issue as much as a family.
Isn't that part of? I mean, this is what the proponents say: is that we want lots of women at all sorts of educational levels coming back to the workplace where they pay tax and they grow the economy.
Yeah, well, that's the argument. The problem is we have a $40 billion deficit. It's costing us $1 billion a month in interest on our national debt. We've got neither side of politics seriously attempting to do anything about the deficit and handing out more money to people who are not poor. And primarily it's coming from people who don't have children to people who do have children. I just think it's the wrong thing to do. Now, there are circumstances where childcare is very valuable, but they are from almost entirely from very low income, dysfunctional households. Get the kids out there, out of those places into childcare. Well worthwhile. It benefits the kid for the rest of their life. But the whole economics of being on a $300,000 household income and saying, well, it's not worth my while going back to work, it's not very compelling, frankly.
Very quickly, Luke Foley, is it middle class welfare?
Labor's policy would deliver an increase of up to $31 a week for 813,000 families in Australia. Now, that is far from the entire Australian population. This is targeted at low and middle income families. I think dog whistling is an unfair term. I take Prue's point. I think she's saying that Bill Shorten's targeting women who have childcare experiences or challenges they deal with. For me, dog whistling's a term that relates to politicians perhaps launching a coded appeal to our baser instincts. I don't think
this is uncoded.
You could describe this as that. It's quite legitimate for a political leader to seek support from women who are dealing with the realities of juggling childcare and work every day of their lives.
All right. We are out of time on the Monday Political Forum, but thank you very much to Luke Foley, Leader of the Opposition, to Prue Goward, Member for Goulburn, and to David Leyonhjelm from the Liberal Democratic Party. Thank you very much. Rolling up to news time on 7.